lot because his father passed away from cancer when we were teens. His father is the only happy memory I have from that horrific night. After the investigation, they pieced together that this guy had been living in our crawl space for at least 4 months. We know how he set the house on fire on purpose. We also know who did it. But because our crawl space wasn't looked, our insurance company wouldn't have paid for the repairs. So my parents never said anything to the police. It took 4 months for our house to be repaired. This guy was a 17-year-old who had been in foster care most of his life and had mental problems. What bothers me the most is knowing he had seen me and my friends undressed numerous times while changing in the rec room during tons of sleepovers where he had set up shop. Was right next to the plywood with the holes drilled through. He listened to all of our secrets. I never explained to my friends that he had seen us and heard us during our sleepovers because I didn't want them to feel sick to their stomachs like I did and still do. I still have issues when it comes to being home alone. I can't sleep if I'm the only adult in the house. I keep volume on everything very low. I'm scared to shower. I like to be able to see the front door, and I have night terrors to this day. And I'm 34 now. I've been dealing with anxiety since the fire and panic attacks since I was 18. Just recently I was diagnosed with PTSD. When the intruder was in his early 20s, he was caught for burning down a few houses and was put in jail. I still don't fully understand why my parents didn't pursue him getting arrested. We were supposed to keep the crawl space locked because of the water tanks. I don't know if they were concerned he would say it wasn't locked and then our insurance wouldn't have to pay. All my childhood toys were stored in the crawl space along with a lot of our family's sentimental possessions. I hope this was easy to read. I've been dealing with a possible neurological condition for the past year. I will lose my train of thought easily and struggle to find words that are simple. And our final story is called Don't Hang Out in the Woods, Kids, posted by you, Bazaron Cap. This happened about 20 years ago. It was me and my friends Sam and Jane. Sam wanted us to meet these guys she knew who were cute. She had a crush on Chris, who she had met from her old neighborhood, and she wanted to meet up with him and his 2 friends. We were roughly 12 at the time. We often hung out in the woods behind Sam's house to drink the 2 cans of beer or smoke a few cigarettes that one of us had stolen from our parents. 2 beers split between 3 girls. Yeah, we thought we were badass. We lived in a major city, but these woods were like our backyard. We often cut through to go to school and hung out here a lot in our adolescent years. We head to a normal hangout place in the woods with an overturned tree log across a creek where we met them. When we first meet these guys, I'm instantly on alert. There are 3 of them, and they are old. In my mind, in reality, they were probably early 20s. Even at 12, I had a pretty good bullshit barometer. What would 3 adults want with us kids? Chris, Steve, and Jack initially are introduced and instantly offer some pot. Chris was stocky and built. He had real big muscles, like he worked out, and was a little under 6 feet. He had tattoos, which didn't bother me. My father and now my husband both have tattoos, and just looked off. I didn't know it at the time, but looking back now, he was either drunk or high. And while my family weren't heavy drinkers, I had just never been around someone who was supposed to be my peer. Like that at 5 o'clock in the evening. His friend Steve, about 6 feet, also had tattoos. Wasn't as bad as Chris, but he was in decent shape. I don't really remember what Jack looked like after all this time, as he wasn't the one I talked to the most. I wasn't a complete straight edge. Obviously, I've explained how I drink a third of 2 beers already, but I hadn't quite reached the level of smoking pot, nor had Jane. This added to our uneasiness. Sam rolled her eyes at us and said we should grow up. She then took the joint and coughed really loudly. For all her talk, this was the first time Sam had smoked pot as well. During this interlude, Jane and I continued to look at each other uncomfortably. Steve was taking an interest in me. Jack was taking an interest in Jane, and Chris was flirting with Sam, as they were the ones who initially wanted to hang out anyway. At this point, I hadn't had much of a dating life. I had dated some guys from our class, as in, you say you're dating someone, cutely smile at them in class, and break up with them over the phone 2 weeks later. Ah, memories. But these guys were intense, saying how hot we were, looking directly at our chests while talking about how they drink and smoke. They said they wanted us to come to Chris's house and hang out. They kept making physical contact. Steve kept putting his arm around me. Jack would do the same with Jane, and he would run his hand down my hair, tried to tickle me, and eventually tried to grab my butt. Once the butt grabbing started, I pushed him away and said no, and removed myself from him. While walking away, once Jane saw me do this, she did the same. We didn't run away, we just moved around so we weren't next to them. At this point, the 3 guys decided to start making fun of us. Ah, what's the matter? You guys don't know how to hang? Jane and I tried to laugh this off, as we were really uncomfortable, but didn't want to look uncool. Sam is high at this point and just laughing at us, although I could tell even she was uncomfortable now. She had made her way over to us sometime during, then continued to make fun of me and Jane. Come on, don't be such babies. We're trying to have fun. So it was us 3 girls huddled together on one end of the tree log and 3 men on the other. Then Chris looks over at us after speaking lowly with his friends and says, okay, we have our car right over here, right over there. He points to the path in the woods, which leads into a deeper part of the woods. In all fairness, there is an exit out. We're gonna head to my house. Time to go. Now, all 3 of us girls are scared out of our minds. Logically or not, these men were saying sexual comments to us, tried to grab us, had offered us drugs, and wanted us to come home with them. Yeah, not going to happen. We're not going anywhere with you, I said, mustering as much conviction in my shaking voice as I could manage. I've been brought up on stranger danger, bad touch, good touch. I knew these were the kinds of people my parents warned me about. It didn't matter that Sam had introduced them as her friends. They weren't her friends, they were men, and I sure as hell wasn't getting in a car with them. Even Sam piped up then. Sorry, we can't go with you. We can't go any further than the woods. Chris then looked over at his friends. All of them are smirking at each other and started to laugh, a sinister, evil laugh. He says, "Oh, would your mommy and daddy not let you?" Still laughing along with the others, and they're all starting to move closer to us across the log. We're backing up now. But by now Chris is over the log and on our side, as is Steve and Jack is making his way over. "You're coming with us." Chris grabs for Sam's hand. Steve grabs my wrist, and Jane is looking at us in terror. Jack hadn't made it over the log yet. "Run!" Jane yells. I finally pull my wrist out of Steve's grasp, and I watch Sam do the same to Chris. We run as fast as our little legs can carry us. We run into the creek, which was rather shallow. The next few minutes are a blur for me. I zigzagged all over, tripping over rocks in the creek, jumping out of the creek and onto the path, and back again depending on where the guys were coming from. I may have peed myself, I'm not gonna lie. I look back to see them chasing us with huge smiles on their faces. They weren't pursuing us now according to who they were flirting with, but would grab whoever was closest. We managed to pull ourselves away every time. They continued laughing as they were chasing us, until they realized we could run. We played running games, freedom, manhunt in our neighborhood on the regular. The three of us could run. The last time I looked back, when we had almost made the safety of Sam's backyard, they looked very angry, all three of them. We escaped. I've never been so scared in my life up to that point. No, we didn't tell our parents. No, we didn't call the cops. I get all the logic advice. You don't think that, first off, when you're a kid, we were worried about getting in trouble for being in the woods, drinking, smoking cigarettes and pot, and hanging out with them boys we didn't even have permission to hang out with? Our parents were actually pretty strict, but I know now as an adult we wouldn't have been in trouble if we had told them. We changed our clothes and actually very rarely spoke of this again. We avoided the woods for a little and eventually continued hanging out in there. Chris and company weren't from our area, so they didn't hang out in our neighborhood. Jane and I brought it up a few months ago in conversation, asking if the others remembered that day. We never saw them again. That bothers me the most as an adult looking back now, is the angry looks at the end. Not for that, I could tell myself, well, super messed up. They were just screwing with us. They weren't. They had bad intentions that day. And that is it. Those are 3 true creepy let's not meet stories from Reddit. I hope you have a nice day and stay spooky. This is the Dead Master signing off.